I got blisters on my fingers. What's going on? This is the Objective Jerk, and I'm said jerk. How are you doing? Hope everybody's well. I just got back from, I have at my father-in-law's. He's got an extra room with an air conditioner, and that's where I have my drums set up. Why do I not sound very loud? Let's try that. Is that a little better? But I still might play with it. So it sounds better from what I can tell. But there's still like some echo. But I mean, the room I am is, it's tile, and I don't have it set up. It's not like a sound room or whatever. But I've played around a little bit with the mic and some different filters and stuff. But I don't know. I can't really seem to find one that I like. Let me know if you guys know of something on GarageBand. And I don't know. I think the video is better. That's for sure. I did actually have somebody, say like, yeah, it's like echoey, or what was it? No, it was, he said it wasn't good. He was giving me some pointers, which was nice. It's nice to have a little feedback and have, people that actually somewhat care, I guess. I don't know. But anyway, so I'm still working on it. I think it's better. But yeah, it was the program I was using. So now I just got a GarageBand, I think. I don't think I can. I think the video was pretty good. I did listen to it. What was it? I think the video sounds way better with using iMovie. I think it sounds. So it's just my podcast still has like kind of an echo. I'm trying to. Maybe I need to turn up, but I can't talk like this into the microphone. I just can't do it. Maybe I need to turn up some input. I don't know if I can do that while I'm recording though. Let me see. This is an exciting episode, huh? Should have done this before. But I can hear it though, so I guess it. I can hear it when it sounds good to me. Like this right here sounds, or does that sound like, is that going to put you to sleep? I don't know. But anyway, I'll see what oh, here we go. Okay, let's see. I don't know if I can, I don't think I can do it while I'm recording though. Pretty sure. Anyway, so let's see. So I play the drums. I'm not, exceptional or nothing. I can play, but I've never really had the chance to. I mean, I have jammed with some people here and there occasionally, but it's usually just like a one-off, not very, it's not like a regular kind of thing. So usually I just play along to music or play around or whatever. And see, here it is, alert volume. I can see my input level. I think that's probably good. Whatever. I'll just adjust it a little bit later. I don't know. I guess I should work on it, huh? How come? I guess that's why, what's his face? Who's the guy? He's like constantly, every time he talks, he's like constantly adjusting his microphone. The guy with the beanie. I can't think of his name right now. But, okay. The drums. Okay, so I play the drums. I try and play the bass, but I'm not really good. I don't have an ear for the bass. So I don't, I do have one, but my son he'll play the bass. We play together sometimes. So that's fun. But anyway, so he's off doing his thing, and I was doing some dishes and cleaning up, and I was listening to music, and I was like, man, I feel like playing. So grabbed my headphones, and I went to my father-in-law's, and is this as high as this can go? Yeah, I think so. That's how high this mic goes. Maybe I need to get the other mic so it can sit here kind of like this. I don't know. I'm working on it. I do see that's too high now. Shit. I don't listen to all of my podcasts, but I do try and listen to some just to kind of make sure they're somewhat bearable, I guess. That didn't really work, did it? Anyway, okay. I'm very animated sometimes, so that's why I don't like being too close to the microphone. Okay, let's see. 5 minutes, and I haven't talked about shit. The drums. Anyway, when I play kind of hard. I try to play soft, and I usually start off soft, but then it's like I'll kind of play some not easy, but easier going. Like I like, harder rock, metal music. It's fun to play like Beastie Boys and stuff too. But usually kind of by the end of it, it's like when I start playing, like I start selecting some heavier music. So the whole thing started is I had like a little playlist of some Weezer songs, just various songs from different albums that I like, that I would like to play the drums to, So it's like my own little playlist, my little own, what is it? What do they call it? Bands when they make up their list of their songs for their shows. I can't think of it. But anyway, so that's kind of what I, did. And I played that, and that was for like 40 minutes, but then I'm just like wanting to keep going. So I played some Toadies. What else did I play? I think that was it. And then I played Chevelle, one of their latest albums, and it's got some really good like heavy grooves, and it's like dun dun dun. So I really get into it, and I hit. I mean, I don't want to damage my drums or anything like that, but I hit pretty hard, and I get into it, So I ended up with blisters, and I got one here, but it hasn't peeled yet. So yeah, that's always a good time. That's one way I know that I'm doing pretty good, like in a good mood, is when I want to play the drums though. So it's always a good sign. That and mountain biking. So that's what I was actually wanting to talk about for this podcast. Who here that listens to this wonderful voice rides a mountain bike, or even any bike really, I guess, any pedal bike. I can't get in the street, and I guess they have gravel bikes they call them or something. So it's kind of like it's a half-breed mountain bike, street bike for people, which kind of makes sense, I guess. You can kind of take it anywhere, so that's kind of cool. It's kind of like an all-terrain vehicle or a motorcycle, you know what I mean? You can take it off-road, ride on the street, so that's cool. But for me, when I ride my bike, I like to be in the woods. I like to be on trails, so that's how I've always been. So I'm going to do a little story. I guess, is this another story time? I don't want to talk about politics. I don't know. AOC's an idiot. She looks like she's probably going to go to jail. There, that's it. I've talked about politics. Okay. So mountain bike. So I started mountain biking in the 90s, like 90. I just had an issue with my garage band. What do you call it? 90. So I started, God, this is horrible. All right. So I started riding bikes in like 97, 98, I want to say. Can't remember exactly, but I remember I worked for this sign company, and my boss, he was selling a mountain bike. It was a Scott bike, but it was, no shocks. Everything was cable, and it was the pad. It didn't even have disc brakes. That's how old it was, right? But I bought it from him for, I don't think it was that much. I want to say like 70 or 90 or something like that. I don't know, something like that. But anyway, so I bought that bike and I started riding. I got a bike rack for my car, and I would go riding with my buddy Bullfrog. His name was Jeremy, obviously. And his roommate and friend, gosh, what was his name? And some other people. We used to go to this place in Washington State called Tiger Summit. And I wonder if it's still there. It's got to be there because it was pretty, but it was really awesome. There was like a big parking lot. I think I've talked about this before. I want to say I have, but whatever. You're hearing it again. But they had a parking lot so you could park your car. And then there was like a small paved road that you would ride your bike up to the top. I think I have talked about this. So it was about like a mile, right? And it's kind of steep, but you could do it. It's on pavement. Get a little workout. We ride up to the top. But then once you get to the top, you just have all these different selections of trails to go down. And they all lead right back to the parking lot. So it's pretty awesome. And I'm sure there's a lot, most probably bike trails are probably like that. I just, I haven't been to too many different ones, a couple, but that's the one that I think of whenever I think about, So I was doing that for a little bit, and then a few years later, well, more than let's see how long, gosh, probably almost 10 years, huh? I think it was almost 10 years. Well, I mean, yeah, like 8 years or something like that. I bought the bike I currently have now. So this was 2008, 2009, something like that. I was living in Louisiana. I was out of the Army. I was a civilian. And I bought this Specialized Hard Rock, I think is what it's called. It doesn't say it on there. It just says, it's a Specialized aluminum frame. Not aluminum. Is it aluminum? No. It's pretty light. Maybe it is. But it's, it's not carbon or anything. And, it had disc brakes, but it was cable and it had, the basic shocks, nothing fancy. And I mean, it was a decent bike for its time. I paid like $800 or $900 for it, I think. So I rode that a few times with a buddy of mine in Louisiana who I was in the Army with, but he was still in after I got out. It's a long story. I left, I came back to Louisiana, but I was a civilian. Anyway, so I rode it a few times around there. Didn't really get crazy about it. And then moved to Utah. And I rode it a couple times. Nothing like in the desert, nothing really that cool where I was at, but I remember there was like sage was growing, or it was pollinating or whatever, and pretty sure I'm allergic to it because after I went riding out there, man, my sinuses were done. So I didn't ride much there anymore. Where did I go? I want to say I went somewhere. God, I can't remember now. But anyway, and then I didn't really ride on it much. That's right. Because, okay, so we were living in Utah, and I moved around a little bit in case you didn't realize. So I lived in Utah for 3-4 years, and then we moved back to Washington. And when we were moving there, so what we did was we put most of our stuff into storage, and we just brought over our necessities, my kids and some stuff. And I had a new bike rack. I bought a new bike rack just for the trip, and we put all our bikes on it. It was like my bike, my wife's, and like 2 of the kids, like, because my youngest, he was too little. And we had a bunch of stuff on the top, and that's what we drove to Washington, right? And I was going to live with my mom for a little bit. And then once we got our own place, then I was going to, what I did do is then I made a trip, got all the stuff from the storage and brought it up, up there and stuff. But that was sometime later. Anyway, so we're driving to Washington to move there. I got the truck loaded. I got, bikes on the back of the truck. And we're going down this road, and it's like right at the very end. So from Utah to Washington, which is like a day and a half, roughly 2 days, but like I would drive pretty much the whole time. I would stop and sleep for a couple hours at one point and do it. I did the drive a few times because I got family. That's pretty much where I grew up, Washington and Utah. And right at the very end of the trip, like we're turning off the highway to go on the road to go to my mother's house. And then all of a sudden, a piece of metal or something on the bike rack breaks. And the bikes, bam, hit the ground. And they get dragged for a little bit, and I pull over. And I get out and I see, and I'm like, man. And so I strap the bike rack up, and then we go to my mom's, and then when I look at it, the tires on my bike got messed up. To me, that makes me think that my bike was on the end, which was stupid. It was the biggest bike, but I think it was because mine was bigger, but it was lighter because it was a little more expensive bike. And then my wife's bike was heavier, and then the other kids, like a little smaller, but still pretty heavy. So I think maybe that's why I put mine on the end, but maybe I shouldn't have done it that way. But anyway, that broke, so it just damaged all the tires and the rims. So I couldn't ride my bike until I got that fixed. So that didn't happen was that not until I got here? I'm trying to think. When did I fix them? I was planning on riding in Washington, again, go to Tiger Summit, but then that happened, and so I obviously didn't go riding, but I want to say I fixed them at some point.
Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Thanks again for listening to The Objective Jerk. I greatly appreciate it. If you could like, subscribe, comment on wherever you're finding this, and you can also email me at theobjectivejerk@gmail.com. So hope you're enjoying it, and please continue on with the episode.
Pretty sure I did, but I'm having trouble remembering. Because man, we were in Washington for like 4 years, and then we went back to Utah. This is like 2018, because my dad was kind of not doing so well, and I like Utah better anyway. I mean, there's some things I love about Washington, but like if I had to go back to the States now, I would try and go to Utah or like Texas maybe, or something, maybe Louisiana. I don't know. Anyway, so I know I got the tires fixed, because I don't think the rims were messed up. I think it was just the tires. So I got new tires. I rode it here and there, the snap, but never really got into it like, in a big way. You know what I'm saying? So it wasn't until I moved here in the Philippines in 2020. So, dude, that's a long time. But like, a long time and a lot of time of not riding, really. You know what I mean? So I bought that bike 2009, 2008. That's an old bike, but I still got it though. It's pretty badass. But anyway, so I get here. I'm retired basically, right? So I got a little more time to whatever. And then my wife's uncle, he goes mountain biking, and there's some older guys that they go riding and stuff. So I was like, cool. But my bike was still not upgraded or updated. I mean, it had the new tires and everything, but it's a large frame bike, but it had 26-inch wheels. The handlebars were very narrow compared to what they'd use now, and it had the 3x6, 3x8 kind of gear ratio. So you had the 3 gears in the front, and then like it was like 6 or 8 in the back or something. And like I said, it had cable. It was disc brakes, but it was cable. So I used that bike for a while, and I couldn't get up certain hills like other people with the the bigger gears, so they can just kind of climb. We call it God mode. You can just climb up steep hills, no problem. But I went riding like crazy with my bike like that, and then finally I started slowly replacing parts, like the handlebars. I got wider handlebars. Like I was used to the handlebars and everything, but so the new ones, man, it's weird. It's so weird having them wider, but it does make things a little easier once you get used to it. So I got new handlebars. I got new transmission. Everything on the bike is new except for the frame and the seat, the saddle. I even got like a whatchamacallit, the plunger seat that, you know, you can push up and down, but it ended up kind of not working. So now I'm back to the standard, whatever. But everything else, I got, you know, forks. It's a hardtail, but I got bigger rims and tires. So they're 27.5, which is as big as I can get on there. And so, yeah, everything's updated. I went through a couple different transmissions and different, you know, to kind of get the right, because I don't know, stuff here in the Philippines, you can get a lot of stuff here, good stuff, but some of it, I don't know what it is. Like certain names, I guess, brand names I know in the States. Here, I don't know if it's good or not. You know what I mean? And then when you try and talk to individuals here about stuff, you're like, hey, is this good? Like, oh yeah, it's good. It's very good. And I'm like, okay, but is it really good? Or is it the brand? Why is the price higher? Is it because it's the brand or the brand name, or is it actually better? You know, you try and get that information, and either they don't know or they don't want to say something bad about a product they have. I don't know. But so the bike, I kind of went ahead there. So my father died 6 months after we moved here, and when was that? So a couple months after he died is when I started riding with my wife's uncle, and we were riding like every other day, and it really kind of helped me get through, you know, losing my dad. So I went through all, and that's when I got crazy into it. And we were riding every other day, and then I started slowly upgrading, and then, but what's funny was, you know, I rode the bike stock basically, except for the new tires. Maybe I had new wheels, I can't remember, but everything else was stock, and I never had problems with it. You know, I couldn't always make it up the hills because it didn't have the gear ratio. And, you know, maybe some of the rides were a little rougher because the fork was a spring fork and not, you know, air, oil, whatever it is, you know, a nicer, fork. But man, I never had problems with it. And then when I started upgrading and getting all new stuff, there was like my transmission, I had one brake. I had stuff constantly slipping. I had chains breaking. It was just like, oh my gosh. But during this time, I tried the tubeless, you know, taking the tubes out and doing the slime. So I did it on my own. I bought some tape. I taped the rims, and I bought some slime and did everything. And it worked great. It actually worked fine. It was much easier to convert over than I thought, you know. And so I used that for a while. And then I remember just being on the trail, and, you know, you see people having to like fix their tube or replace their tube. And I'm like, haha, tubeless, you know, thinking I'm cool. And it was great at first, but I started having problems with the valve stems. They were getting clogged. And I think if you're going to go tubeless, you need to be like actively riding regularly. You know what I mean? Because I was pretty active for like 6 months. I rode pretty regularly. But then after a while, I kind of, like when that first rainy season hit, when I started riding, so I didn't ride for a while, and then getting back into it. And that's kind of a problem I have. It's like I want to do some things, but it's just like that first step, you know? And then so trying to get back into, once I get back into something, then I'm good. Or once I set the momentum or the habit, you know, I'm pretty good. So the rainy season hit, and it was pretty pointless to go riding during that time. And so I didn't go riding for a while. And then when I did, it's like I was having problems because the slime would kind of dry up and fill the stem and clog it. So I'd bring the bike in, get new valve stems, and it happened like 3 times. And I was just like, man. So I haven't ridden in like almost 2 years, a year and a half, maybe. I don't know. I'm trying to remember. I don't remember the last time I went riding. But so my son, my youngest, he has been like, come on, let's go ride. He's been bugging me, wanting to go ride. And so finally, I got my older son's bike, which was too big. It had 29s, which was too big for my youngest son. So I put 28s on there and got some things on it. So he's good to go. We went riding the other day. We had to mess with his transmission a little. but it seems to be pretty good. But my tires, I wasn't able to put air in them, so I brought them to the bike shop. He put air in it. I'm like, cool. But then the next morning, one of them's flat. I was able to put air in it. The other one was like a little bit lower, but I could not put air in it. I just couldn't. So we went riding, come back, and it's like, man, still having issues. And then it was just like at that moment, I was like, you know what? Screw this, dude. I'm done with the slime crap. I'm going to put tubes back in. You know what I mean? Because it's like, it's not that hard to change your tire. I mean, it's a little bit time consuming and stuff, but it's not that big a deal. If you've got the tools and you got the tube, you know? So you have the tools and you always have an extra tube with you when you go riding, right? So I was like, I'm just going back to the tube. And then I thought about it, and it's like, because of my habits, you know, I don't ride all the time. It just, the slime does not work. So I think tube works better for me. And until maybe I start riding, or maybe if I get if I start riding regularly, and maybe I buy a new bike and I'm just like riding like crazy or something, then maybe I'll go back to tubeless. But I don't know, because holy shit, it was a pain in the ass to go back to tubes, right? So yesterday I made holy crap, I'm at 25 minutes. Who cares? Anyway, so yesterday I made the decision to go back to the tubes. So I went and bought some tubes, come back home, start getting everything ready, and I start, you know, trying to get the tires off, and they are like super glued in. So the slime just completely dried everything, and it was just, I could not get the bead, you know, every time I would kind of open it up and get it kind of ready to get the tool in to kind of, I couldn't move anything, and I don't know, it's hard to explain, but it was getting to the point where I was like, you know what, we're not going riding. I'm just going to cut this fucking tire off and buy new tires, which I didn't want to do because they were still good tires. They weren't that old. But I was getting frustrated. I was getting pissed off. And so finally, though, my youngest son, he's like, he got on YouTube to try and find, you know, if there was some kind of resolution, something. And he did. He found an individual who had the same exact problem I was having. And he found it on, I don't know if he found another channel or it was a friend, but basically, you know, you make sure all the air's out, obviously. And then what you do is you lay the tire down, and you have to like step on the tire, not the rim, but the tire, just like, you know, so you got the circle of the tire, and then you just kind of step on it, and then you grab the spokes right there close to the rim, and you just kind of pull on it, and it'll separate the bead. And then you go to the other side, and it finally kind of did it. And it was like, oh my gosh, finally. So we got it off. The thing I was worried about was the tire it got a little messed up from me constantly trying to get at it. But like, I don't know if I'd be able to go back to slime with that tire. Like, I'm worried that it might, I think it'll be fine, but I don't know. Anyway, but finally got it in there and everything's good. So very, very, very happy about that. But yeah, I don't know, like, you know, there was a couple times where I almost bought a new bike, full suspension and all this kind of stuff. And I know I'm getting older, and you're supposed to, you know, it's easier on your back and everything with full suspension. I just love my bike though, man. It's a hardtail, but it's badass. I should have a picture of it. Huh? Do I have a picture of it? I don't think I do. Well, actually, I don't know where my old phone is at. Anyway, it's a gray, like a light gray, you know, standard bike. It's you know, it's got a classic look. It doesn't have like the newer shapes and stuff because it's older. But I don't know. I'm kind of like more into classic vehicles. You know what I mean? So it's kind of the same thing with the bikes. Like, I see the bike, I'm like, oh, it's nice. That's cool. So I don't know. I definitely won't ever get rid of it. If anything, you know, maybe I'll buy a new one, and then, you know, my son can ride it or whatever. But I don't know. I like it. It's good for me. But I don't know if it's a large frame, but, you know, sometimes it's probably the length of it compared to some of the newer ones. I don't know. I'm sure if I'll get like an extra large and 29 wheels and all that kind of stuff to, make it funner. I don't know. We'll see. But I don't know. That's my mountain biking story. Once I get out there, man, I love it. And it's like I don't want to go back. So it was, I haven't ridden in a while, and then we just went behind the property and went on some like little dirt trail. Nothing, crazy, but still it's kind of fun. And it really was just like, oh man, it's in me. Like I love doing it. So it's just getting me to go. So, but I don't know. So that's kind of what's going on with me. Anybody else? What's your hobbies? I'd like to hear some of the hobbies that you guys have. I'm starting to get a little more interaction with some people on my videos. I haven't gotten any interaction through the podcast. I don't know if people make comments on Spotify. I think I'd have to log in to let me know if whoever's listening to this, if you have made a comment on anything on Spotify. Maybe send me an email, theobjectivejerk@gmail.com. Be like, dude, I say stuff all the time. But I don't know, the last, it's been a minute, but people were listening, but I wasn't really getting much, feedback or anything. But anyway, yeah, so I'd like to hear about what kind of hobbies you guys do, whether it's like 3D printing or, I don't know, RC, who knows, whatever. Kind of curious, but I've been talking for 30 minutes now, so I think I'm going to end it. I appreciate your time and hanging out and listening to my retarded story. Anyway, let me know. Again, email me at theobjectivejerk@gmail.com. Thanks for hanging out. God bless, and I will see you guys next time. All right, bye.
You just put yourself through another episode of The Objective Jerk. Thanks again for hanging out with me. Please email me at theobjectivejerk@gmail.com. Like, subscribe, comment, wherever you find this, follow. It all helps. But thanks again, and I'll see you next time.